Here's the deal. We got 10 minutes to cover the running back position going into 2019. Welcome back to No Huddle Fantasy Sports. We're turning up the tempo on these videos. Let's get into it. So we're just about a week away from the start of the 2019 season, and we're still uncertain on a couple of guys at the running back position. You have the potential to see 8-9 running backs go in the first round, which although it isn't uncommon, it really signifies how important the position has become. If you take, for instance, last year in 2018, Saquon Barkley led all running backs in PPR with 386 points. Just behind him, just actually a few decimal points behind him, was McCaffrey. When I talk variance in the NFL, or variance among the position, you can really see that once you get outside the top 5. So, for example, RB1 last year, really RB1 and RB2, 386 points. You drop down to RB10, you're nearly 150 points less at the position. Elite running backs are just that. They separate themselves so much from the pack. So, I'm pretty hard-pressed not to select a running back in the first. But even outside of the first round, there's a couple of key principles I always like to consider when scouting backs for potential drafts. First and foremost, probably the most important thing is volume. There's no sense in drafting a back that's not going to have any volume. And also consider red zone. Beyond that, I focus on offensive line. Pro Football Focus is a great website to use, a great resource. They provide their rankings, which they continuously update. But offensive line is key. You can have an average back behind a great offensive line, and that back can put up elite numbers. After that, quarterback play. After that, I look at tempo. High tempo team, high scoring team. And finally, you always want to consider handcuffs. But as with every position, there's a number of running backs this year that I'm looking to avoid. The first one I have listed here is Todd Gurley for the Rams. Just too much uncertainty right now with his knees. If they're going to limit him to 10 to 15 carries a game, it's not a first round pick in my book, so I'm avoiding him due to that uncertainty. Melvin Gordon, he's still in holdout mode. We might not see Melvin Gordon until midseason. It's just not a good situation. You don't know where your fantasy team's going to be at that point. Marlon Mack, a lot of people high on him this year, but if you look at his history, if you look at last year when he started playing more, there's too much up and down. For a guy that's going as high as Marlon Mack, it's just too much up and down, too many duds in there with him. And on top of that all, the Colts are now missing Andrew Luck, so that can't be good for their offense. Chris Carson's up next. Seattle in general, I just don't like their running back situations. Pete Carroll just seems to screw over people every year, every week. He has a guy listed as a starter, and the next backup guy gets all the carries. They drafted Rashard Penny a couple of years ago. Early in the draft, you got to think they're going to give him carries. It's just too tricky of an offense to predict. Josh Jacobs, he plays for Oakland. He's a rookie. I just don't like Oakland in general. I think they're still too much of a mess. They're on Hard Knocks right now, which is never a good thing. He's never been a feature back, even in college. Didn't have a high workload. They have a bad offensive line. Too much uncertainty there. And the last one we have here for the Bears, we have Cohen. He's been great in PPR. I believe regression is coming. They moved up in the draft to get Montgomery. That's got to hurt Cohen in general. For a guy that you're really relying on third down, I just don't like that. And I think a regression is coming with opportunity going towards Montgomery. All right, with all of that said, I have listed out 6 different guys here that I am targeting in drafts. Just try to split them in tiers, so you have your top tier, middle tier, and lower tier. We're going to speed it up here and cover each one of these guys. First one I got here is Saquon Barkley for the Giants. Little needs said here. He is an elite back. In my opinion, he has a chance to go down as one of the greatest running backs in NFL history. If you're first in the draft, just take Barkley. There's really no ifs, ands, or buts about it. He played behind a putrid offensive line last year, an anemic offense in general. Eli Manning was terrible. All the things I look for, he didn't have, yet he still finishes the number 1 running back. He averages 22 touches a game, second in the league, 61 red zone touches, third overall in the league. Without Odell Beckham Jr., it's not a surprise, but he could actually receive more targets because he's such a big part of the passing game. And the big stat here is, last year, Saquon Barkley finished as the number 1 running back in 75% of weeks, which is just remarkable. You don't need to get cute here. If you're the number 1 pick, take Barkley and don't look back. After him, my favorite running back, if you're talking about elite backs, McCaffrey's easily my favorite. Last season, he finished just a couple of decimal points behind Saquon Barkley. He was 10th in overall rush attempts, which isn't great for a guy you're looking to take number 2 or 3 in drafts. But he was 3rd overall in touches. He gets his due. It doesn't matter. They find a way to get him the ball. Goal line work was always considered an issue for him, mostly because Cam Newton is like a goal line back. But I challenged that a little bit. I looked at the stats. He actually was fourth in the NFL last year in terms of goal line work. He should get actually a little bit more, I would think, this year. Cam is suffering a couple of injuries. Last year, he averaged 7.75 targets a game. That was first overall for a running back. But to put it in perspective, that was 20th overall in the NFL. And my favorite stat of all, preseason, in terms of all the elite backs, McCaffrey has the easiest schedule. He's ranked 10th overall in terms of strength of schedule. I don't put too much stock into it for these elite backs, but it's something to consider here. And I think he should again challenge whoever, if it's Barkley or anyone else, for the number one spot overall. Moving down a tier here, Dalvin Cook, the big knock on him is injury. He played 15 games in 2 years. But when he does play, he has all the potential in the world. He's a big talent. He's going to be a 3-down back. He's really the only guy left in terms of that backfield. They didn't really add anyone after Murray left. They're focusing more and more on the run. They have upgrades in the offensive line. Their offensive coordinator is a run-heavy type of offensive coordinator. I really like Dalvin Cook going into 2019. And we talk about strength of schedule a little bit. Well, he's 5th overall. Pretty easy schedule, at least on paper. I like where he's going in drafts, and certainly will be targeting him when I can. Next up on the board here, we have Aaron Jones for Green Bay, a player I'm really digging going into drafts this year. Late second, early third round guy. Didn't play a whole lot last year considering he missed 2 games due to suspension and landed on the injured reserve towards the end of the season. But when he did play, if you look at the body of work, he became their back, the back that they've needed for a long time. He shows upside when he has the volume. He averaged 5.5 yards a carry last year, turned really into a touchdown machine, getting a lot of red zone looks. Scored a total of 9 touchdowns. He's capable of being a 3rd-down back. All rumors, at least right now, are pointing to Green Bay working on that with him in the offseason. He's looking to become a better route runner out of the backfield. The big thing here, too, he plays with Aaron Rodgers, and Green Bay's offensive line is actually ranked number 8, according to Pro Football Focus. So just a really good situation. Green Bay should be a lot better going into this year, and Aaron Jones stands to benefit should he stay healthy. Dropping down to kind of a third tier, we have Leonard Fournette and David Montgomery. Leonard Fournette, he's really dropping in draft boards this year, mostly because of what he did last year, which was a whole lot of nothing. I basically attribute a lot of that to really Jacksonville's offense in general. They really took a step back last year. I think they regressed compared to 2017 would be the better word. Blake Bortles was never a good quarterback, so they've gotten rid of him. Nick Foles is an upgraded quarterback. Another big problem last year was the injuries that Jacksonville suffered along the offensive line. Considering that, their offensive line just naturally should get better going into the season along with Nick Foles. And although there is some risk, obviously, with injury and just generally a guy that was a workhorse back in the past just coming, I think Leonard Fournette offers a lot of upside going in the late second, early third round in most drafts. He plays out of the backfield, catches the ball, and Jacksonville's offense, not known for the pass, they want to run the ball heavy. And the final guy I have listed here is David Montgomery, the rookie in Chicago. I'm not usually too big on rookies, but I think David Montgomery is a little bit of an exception here. Really, it just comes down to a couple of things. Number one, Chicago got rid of Jordan Howard, and they did so that they could acquire some picks and trade up and get David Montgomery in the draft. He was their first pick in the 2019 draft for them. So, Chicago in general really thinks highly of this guy. You hear it out of their coaching staff currently. They think he's a 3-down workhorse type back. He handled a heavy workload in college, so that should be no issue. He should contribute immediately, or at least get the opportunity to. And another highlight, like all the other guys, Pro Football Focus ranks Chicago's offensive line number 9. So you got a top offensive line, an improving offense, a young rookie that can handle a heavy workload. So in addition to the 6 guys we just mentioned, there's a number of other guys I'm really high on going into 2019. First up is James Conner for Pittsburgh, playing behind one of the best offensive lines in football. He really stepped up and filled the void left by Bell last year, averaging 4.5 yards a carry, which if you look at it is very similar to the numbers Bell was putting up. He continues to get all the red zone usage. I think that's in the 60% range. He plays all 3 downs, comes out of the backfield, catches the ball, remains a part of the passing game. Great player in PPR, great red zone guy, gets all the opportunity. We also have Derrick Henry, who Started off the season not that great, but finished the season as one of the best running backs in football. Heavy red zone usage guy, doesn't catch the ball a lot out of the backfield, but can do a lot of damage just with his legs and the amount of volume he gets in terms of carries, and plays behind one of the best offensive lines in football. Finally, we have Mark Ingram listed here, a guy changing teams, but I think offers a lot of upside entering the Baltimore Ravens offense. He's a physical downhill runner that has the ability to bounce it outside and be a part of the passing game. If you focus on last year and when Lamar Jackson became the starting quarterback, the Ravens actually ranked top 5 for running backs in yards, carries, and yards per carry. So any guy that's going to get a lot of carries in that offense has a lot of upside. So there we go. We covered 10 running backs in 10 minutes. I hope you guys enjoy this style of video, and I also hope it helps you become more prepared for your upcoming drafts. If you haven't done so already, please consider subscribing to the channel, share the video, and comment below if you have any other running backs you'd recommend going into 2019. With that being said, I hope to catch you in the next video where we'll be covering wide receivers. Talk to you guys soon.